In the heart of the dense Nigerian rainforest, where the ancient Irako trees whispered secrets, there lay Ojuju Village, a place of beauty and mystery. But beneath its serene surface lurked a darkness, for the village was cursed with a wicked doctor whose name sent shivers down spines, Dr. Abaddon. The children of Ojuju were warned never to wander near his crumbling hut at the edge of the village, where strange potions bubbled and eerie chants echoed at midnight. Yet, curiosity was a dangerous thing, and one fateful evening, a brave boy named Kola dared to peek through the cracked wooden door, and what he saw would haunt him forever. Inside, the wicked doctor stood over a boiling cauldron, tossing in strange herbs and the bones of creatures unknown. His eyes glowed like embers, and his laughter was a raspy, unnatural sound that made Kola's blood run cold. Before he could flee, the doctor's head snapped toward him, and a bony finger pointed directly at his hiding spot. "Come closer, child," Dr. Abaddon croaked, his voice like dry leaves scraping against stone. Kola's legs trembled, but an unseen force pulled him forward, as if the very air obeyed the doctor's command. The door slammed shut behind him, sealing his fate. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about the doctor's dark past, how he had once been a healer, but greed twisted his soul. It was said he made a pact with Asu, the trickster spirit, trading his humanity for forbidden knowledge. Now, he demanded more than coins for his cures, he demanded life. Kola's mother, Mama Nkechi, wept when she realized her son was missing, for she knew where he had gone. The elders refused to help, fearing the doctor's wrath, but Mama Nkechi was no ordinary woman. She had the sight, a gift passed down from her ancestors, and she would use it to save her son, or die trying. That night, under a blood-red moon, Mama Nkechi entered the forbidden forest armed with a dagger forged from iron and a pouch of sacred salt. The trees seemed to lean closer, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching to stop her, but she pressed on, chanting the old prayers. Deep in the woods, she found Kola trapped in a cage of bones, his eyes wide with terror. Dr. Abaddon stood over him, a jagged knife in hand, ready to carve out his spirit for a dark ritual. "You're too late," the doctor sneered, but Mama Nkechi's voice cut through the night like thunder. "Release my son, Abaddon, or face the wrath of the ancestors," she roared, flinging the sacred salt at his feet. The earth trembled, and the spirits of the forest howled in response. For the first time, fear flickered in the doctor's hollow eyes. A fierce battle ensued, not of strength, but of will. Mama Nkechi's chants clashed with the doctor's dark incantations, the air crackling with unseen forces. Then, from the shadows emerged the Egbera, a weeping spirit of vengeance, drawn by the doctor's sins. The creature lunged at Dr. Abaddon, its sorrowful cries turning to shrieks of fury as it wrapped its long, bony fingers around his throat. The wicked doctor screamed, but his voice was swallowed by the night. When dawn broke, the village awoke to silence. Dr. Abaddon's hut stood empty, his cauldron overturned, his dark tools scattered like ashes in the wind. Kola was found unharmed, clutching his mother's hand. The elders declared the curse lifted, but Mama Nkechi knew the truth: evil never truly dies. Somewhere in the depths of the forest, a faint, raspy chuckle could still be heard on the wind, waiting for the next foolish soul to seek forbidden power. The villagers rejoiced, but their celebrations were short-lived. Strange things began happening, children spoke in voices not their own, crops withered overnight, and shadows moved when no one was watching. The elders gathered, their faces grave, realizing that Dr. Abaddon's evil had seeped into the very soil of Ojuju. Mama Nkechi knew they needed more than prayers, they needed a cleansing. She sought out Baba Ifeimi, the oldest living diviner in the neighboring village, a man who had once battled a spirit as dark as Abaddon. His hut smelled of ancient herbs, and his milky eyes saw beyond the physical world. "The wicked doctor's spirit clings to this land," Baba Ifeimi rasped, tossing cowrie shells onto a worn mat. "He made a bargain with the underworld, and his debt remains unpaid. Until it is settled, Ojuju will never know peace." Kola, now haunted by nightmares, revealed a chilling detail. Before disappearing, Dr. Abaddon had whispered, "*I will return when the moon swallows the sun." The next eclipse was in 7 days. Time was running out. The village prepared for war, not against men, but against the unseen. Women wove protective charms into their children's clothes, men sharpened machetes blessed by the priests, and the elders sacrificed a black goat to appease the ancestors. On the night of the eclipse, the air grew thick, and the forest fell silent. Then, from the abandoned hut, a deep, guttural laughter echoed. The ground split open, and skeletal hands clawed their way to the surface, Abaddon's cursed servants, risen to claim the living. Mama Nkechi stood at the village square, holding a flaming torch. "We fight tonight," she declared. The villagers roared in response, their fear turning to fury. But then, the sky darkened completely as the moon covered the sun, and a figure emerged from the shadows, Dr. Abaddon, reborn. His body was no longer human, his skin was stretched tight over bones, his mouth too wide, filled with jagged teeth. His eyes burned like dying embers, and his voice was a chorus of whispers. "You cannot kill what was never alive," he hissed. The villagers attacked, but their blades passed through him like smoke. One by one, they fell, their strength draining as if sucked away by an unseen force. Mama Nkechi realized too late, Abaddon was feeding on their fear. In desperation, she grabbed the sacred Odin La, a stone of power passed down through her lineage, and hurled it at the doctor. It struck his chest, and for the first time, he screamed, a sound so terrible it shook the trees. The stone, of the first healer. Abaddon gasped, clutching his chest where the rock had burned his flesh. Baba Ifeimi's eyes widened, he had heard legends of such a stone, said to hold the essence of the original medicine men. Now! Mama Nkechi shouted. The villagers rallied, driving the weakened doctor back toward his hut. But as they reached the threshold, the ground beneath them trembled violently, and the hut collapsed into a gaping pit, swallowing Abaddon whole. Silence. Then, from the depths, a final whisper, "This is not over." The eclipse passed, and sunlight returned, but no one cheered. They knew the wicked doctor would return, and next time, he would be stronger. Days turned to weeks, and though life resumed, the village was forever changed. Kola, now marked by his encounter, began having visions of a masked figure wandering the forest, gathering lost souls. Mama Nkechi knew the battle was only beginning. She trained Kola in the old ways, teaching him to harness his sight. Baba Ifeimi warned that Abaddon would seek a new body, a vessel to walk the earth again. One stormy night, a traveler arrived in Ojuju, a tall, silent man with a hooded cloak. He claimed to be a merchant, but his shadow moved on its own. Kola saw the truth too late. The man's hood fell back, revealing Dr. Abaddon's grinning face. "Did you miss me?" He whispered before the village erupted into chaos once more. The villagers screamed as Abaddon's new form towered over them, his limbs elongating like shadows at dusk. Kola grabbed his mother's arm, his voice trembling. "He's not just back, he's stronger." The wicked doctor raised his hands, and the very air thickened with the stench of rotting herbs and burnt flesh. Mama Nkechi acted fast. She threw a pouch of powdered eggshells, a charm against evil, at Abaddon's feet. The moment the dust touched him, his skin sizzled like meat on fire. He howled, but then, laughed. "Old tricks won't save you now, woman." The village oracle, a frail woman named Aya Agba, suddenly collapsed, her body writhing as she spoke in a voice not her own, "He seeks the child of two bloods, only their heart can complete his resurrection." Then, her eyes locked onto Kola. A terrible realization struck Mama Nkechi. Kola's father had been a stranger from a distant tribe, making her son the child of two bloods. Abaddon's grin widened. "I only need one more thing to live forever." Chaos erupted. Villagers scrambled as the doctor's skeletal minions crawled from the earth, their hollow eyes fixed on Kola. Baba Ifeimi shouted ancient words, causing the first line of creatures to burst into flames, but more kept coming. In the fray, Kola was snatched by a bony hand and dragged toward the forest. Mama Nkechi lunged, slashing with her iron dagger, but Abaddon appeared before her, his form flickering like a mirage. "You'll watch him die," he promised. Deep in the woods, Kola awoke tied to a rotting tree, its bark carved with cursed symbols. Abaddon stood over a pit of black water, chanting as the moon turned crimson. The ritual had begun. Meanwhile, Mama Nkechi and the surviving villagers formed a desperate plan. They would use the one weapon Abaddon couldn't resist, his own greed. She poured every healing herb she owned into a gourd, knowing the doctor's hunger for power would draw him to it. As the final chant left Abaddon's lips, he raised a jagged knife over Kola's chest, but then paused. His head snapped toward the village. No, that scent, the elixir of Oya. Even in his corrupted state, his healer's instincts recognized the rarest of cures. Snarling, Abaddon abandoned Kola and vanished into the shadows. The moment he was gone, the tree's roots loosened, freeing Kola. He realized the truth, the tree itself was a prison for lost souls, and they'd helped him. Back in the village, Abaddon found the gourd sitting alone in the sacred circle. He seized it, drinking deeply, then screamed. The elixir was laced with ground cemetery dust and the tears of a wronged spirit. His stolen body began to rot. "Lies," he shrieked, his flesh sloughing off like wet clay. Mama Nkechi stepped forward, holding the real elixir of Oya, a single drop in a snail shell. "You always choose power over wisdom," she said, and flung it into his gaping mouth. Light exploded from Abaddon's body. The spirits trapped within him wailed as they were freed. His form crumbled, bones clattering to the ground, but his skull remained, jaw still clacking. This isn't over. Baba Ifeimi sealed the skull in a clay pot, warning, his spirit is bound, but only the river of no return can destroy him forever. The villagers knew the legend, a hidden river where the gods discarded their mistakes. At dawn, Mama Nkechi, Kola, and Baba Ifeimi began the perilous journey to find the river. The forest resisted them, vines lashed like whips, and phantom voices whispered their deepest fears. Twice, Kola almost walked into quicksand, lured by Abaddon's illusions. On the third night, they found it, a black river flowing uphill, its waters silent. The pot shook violently as they approached. "Throw him in," Baba Ifeimi urged, but Mama Nkechi hesitated. "What if the river takes more than just him?" The skull's laughter echoed. She's right, the river demands a trade. One soul, for another. Kola reached for the pot, but his mother stopped him. Instead, she drew a small, wrapped bundle from her pouch, Abaddon's own withered finger, saved from his first death. "You want a trade?" she hissed. "Take what's already yours." She threw both the pot and the finger into the water. The river roared, the waters turning blood-red before swallowing the relics whole. A final scream pierced the air, then silence. The trio returned to a village reborn. Crops grew overnight, children laughed freely, and the elders swore the very air smelled sweeter. But in quiet moments, Kola still heard faint whispers in the wind. Years later, when Kola became the village's new healer, his first act was to build a shrine where Abaddon's hut once stood, not to honor the wicked doctor, but to remind all who passed, darkness lingers where wisdom sleeps. And deep beneath the earth, if one listened closely, something in the soil breathed.